Mr. Syafiq, the boss of Riverwood. Okay, Mr. Syafiq, could you tell me more about yourself before Riverwood has started? So just tell me more about yourself. Who was this Mr. Syafiq before?
Okay. Thank you, Khairul, for having me in this session. So to start off with, myself, Syafiq Yussoff. And before this business, I was a personal trainer. That was I would say my first and only full-time job, right? That I did after my national service. So I did that for about 6 years, right? As a personal trainer, my day-to-day work involves meeting many types of people, many kinds of people, right? When I say type, I mean talking about from, I shared this a couple of times in the talks that I give. I have clients who are road sweepers. I had a client who's a road sweeper, to technicians, to engineers, to millionaires, to CEOs or MDs of companies. So in the span of that, minimally at least 15-16 hours that I spend in a gym, you have a whole spectrum of different types of people with different background, different walks of life. So after doing that for 6 years, obviously you bask yourself in a different kind of exposure. Again, stemming from my intent to always have this insatiable desire to learn from people. So that was me and my professional career before, as a personal trainer before this business. And before that period, how I got into personal training was because of my interest in weight training.
So you like all this gym?
Yeah, I was, well, for the most part of my life, for about 15 years of my life, first 15 years of my life, I was very obese. Okay. So I was at about 100. I tipped the scale at about 115 kilograms. 115, and my waistline went to about 44 inches, and it ballooned at the age of 15. I had some challenges in the past, so I tend to binge eat. I tend to stress eat whenever I have any issues, and I'll just eat. That's how I got obese. So at the age of 15, 16, that was the period when I was going to do my O levels. So I literally woke up in the morning. I saw myself in the mirror. I remember that morning. It's still like yesterday. Right? That was almost 20 years back now. Thinking back, I looked at myself in the mirror, and I was in just my boxers that night that I slept. So I looked at the mirror, and
that was 15, 16?
That was when I was 15. That's right. Yeah. So I looked in the mirror. I told myself, I do not want to, stay in this shape for the rest of my life. So what happened was, literally, right? I mean, that day itself, I went to the bookstore. So I bought this book called Body for Life by Phillips, and a couple of others, right? Nutrition, on physical training. And I told myself that was the day that I'm going to change. And literally it was like a switch that's on, right?
Really?
Just from that.
15 years old?
Exactly, at the age. There were a couple of factors before that also that pushes me to drive myself to change. Some are personal. In fact, mostly are personal, right? Which pushes me to have a different path in life. Instead of building myself in that with what I did at a point of time, right? I told myself I'm just gonna I'm gonna acknowledge my current situation, take ownership of my life, take ownership of the circumstances and the problems that I have, and leap forward, move forward to a new chapter. That's what I did. I think it's a cliche these days, right? It's a full paradigm shift. It literally was a full paradigm shift. Really? So that moment was when I realized where the power of the mind, what the power of the mind can do, right? Where you literally tell yourself that I'm done, right? I'm gonna move on. And that was it. That was when I did. So in a year, I lost about close to 34 kilos.
So that you achieve it when you're 16?
Yeah, correct. Oh. Towards the end of about the 12 months. So I put myself. So what I did was, I wrote a plan. I put myself. I gave myself some targets, right? I took my picture at a point of time. So I pasted. I remember I copied three sets of pictures. One small one in my wallet, which to put my wallet for whenever I want to flip, want to buy a burger, want to buy some candy. Okay, no, stop. One in front of my fridge. The other one is, in fact, because at the time I was still schooling, in fact, it was at the back of my door, of my room. So whenever I close the door, I say,
Yeah,
okay,
you get it.
that's a reminder. We need markers in
Yeah,
life, right?
yeah.
So that's a reminder that I set myself. So that's what I did. So I have my plan. I pasted that plan too at the back of my door. And for 1 year, I was steadfast. I was consistent. 34 kgs down from 44 inch. I went up to 31 inches.
Wow.
And suddenly you become like a new person, so because the process is not overnight, right? Because you
Yes.
appreciate that journey.
Yes.
And you appreciate the pain that you go through. I mean, because my routine was quite rigorous. I mean, I do 6 days a week. I'll take a Sunday off. I don't work out on Sundays, and I do my cheat day on Sunday.
Yeah.
Right, so I eat
You
whatever I
have to
want.
have a cheat day.
Exactly, right? So Monday to Saturday, I watch my food intake.
Yeah.
Sunday, I do that. And for 1 year, it happened. And when that 1 year mark came, I realized how different I am in terms of the way I think. To be honest, the first thing I thought of was maybe it's time to have a girlfriend, right?
Okay.
Because at that point of time,
Yeah,
still in the
yeah.
teenage years, you think maybe you should start to have
Yeah.
steady, lah, right? They call it, to have steady girlfriend. So yeah, I got more confidence, and yeah, I started to talk to to girls, and but it was just just for that moment. But more on the confidence that you have when you have that positive mindset, right? I mean the aura that you bring, the whole positivity, the exuberance I feel that you bring to everywhere you go, where you have a positive outlook in life, right? That is the one that drove me to want to do similarly, have an effect to others.
Okay.
Hence why be a personal trainer. My intent was really to be able to let others experience that, because I know it's hard to convert, right? To change your mentality, right? And I was able to do it overnight.
Yeah.
Again, because of almost years of somewhat the depressive state, a lot of challenges, a lot of problems. Just one moment, let's switch this off. So of course, I think I've been blessed with my family. I mean, my parents have taught me well. I mean, don't do drugs, don't drink, don't do all the vices, right?
Yeah.
So I think I managed to turn towards a positive, outlet, right? To bash yourself through exercising and dieting, right? Which has a positive side effect.
Yeah.
That's an oxymoron, yeah. So side effects supposed to be negative, yeah. So anyway, so well, that's when I realized. So after national service, so I dropped out. I'm not sure that you've read, but I dropped out of school twice. Yeah. So after O levels, thinking back now, since we're talking, I realized why I probably couldn't pass, maybe because I was focusing on my body than my studies. So I had 39 points for my O levels.
Yeah.
That was some of the challenges at that point of time,
Yeah.
right? I took my O levels, and I mean, I love language. I mean, I aced. In fact, I got an A for my English.
Yeah.
I love literature. I actually got A for my English, but I didn't do so well for the rest of my other subjects. So I remember when I got my O level results, there was only one line as an option, right? And it's just secretarial services at ITE. So in my mind, I can't. I mean, that's not something I want to do. So I tried enrolling for. I enrolled in mass comm in informatics. I did. I went in. About 1.5 years through, I had a bit of a challenge financially to continue. Yeah. So I had a bit of a financial situation in the family. So I had to stop. And I enrolled myself for national service. So in national service, I told myself I'm not gonna give up. So I'm gonna try it again. So I took another course in business admin at PSB Academy.
It's a private diploma?
It's private diploma also. So I took that while I was serving national service. I was in national service. So I completed my BMT, and I looked up for the courses, and I eventually signed on for
So
PSB.
during your national service, you're having a office hour vocation.
So after my BMT, I was posted actually as a driver.
Okay.
At Sembawang camp.
Okay.
But because I already had my license before national service, so I had a bit of an injury when I was in BMT. So I spoke to the officer to post me elsewhere. I mean, just in case my knee hurts again, it's dangerous for driving it. So they agreed, and then I was posted out to be a storeman.
Okay.
Premeditated, thinking back, yes, of course, because I wanted to have that time to study.
Yeah.
But again, I think it happened for a reason, and they agreed, and I had that. I had to stay in, no doubt, but I was given an allowance to book out to go to school and come back before the gate closes by midnight. also. And yeah, during that period for about a year, so I took my business administration. So I took business law, organizational behavior, management, finance, all this stuff. So I passed 9 out of 10, right? So the last subject was statistics, statistics.
Statistics.
Yeah, so it's so here's the problem with me, right? I mean, I'm thinking, why? You can stop recording here. It's not going to show. Because why would anyone do this when there's a calculator? I mean, for you to think, for you to just punch some numbers and get an answer. I don't understand why there's a logic to actually understand and memorize the formula. So I couldn't fathom not the subject, the need to study the subject. So I couldn't feel it in then, right? So it was so hard to convince myself to study, but I did. I took the first test, but I failed. So I took my money again for my national service and tried to resit for the second test. And I remember I studied one day before the test again, and statistics is all about practice. And of course I failed, right? That was the second time. So the school came back to me and said, you have to pass this time round, and you only have this certain timing window of retake that you can. So I remember walking out through the door. I told myself that I'm not gonna do it. Right? I can't convince myself to pay another $300 for retake and do this, right? But I know at that point of time it was a crazy decision because you've done that year. You're just left with one subject. I mean, one of the hardest to pass was actually business law because a lot of memorization in it too.
Business law.
It's hard, Thompson versus Thompson, all this stuff, right? So I remember I stepped out. I said, I just couldn't, right? And I just stepped out. But I will never forget that feeling in my heart, knowing that I know to myself, when I step out of the door to make this decision, I will have to remember this moment because this means that I'm going to have to work my ass off, especially in system in Singapore, to be able to, at least have a decent income. Because you do not have any qualification, you do not have any experience, so where do you go from there?
Yes, correct.
Right? So that was something that I remember then, which I still remind myself daily. Right? So that two occasion, two episodes of dropping out of school, led me to into a very little option that I have after ORD. So. Yeah, and then that's when I tried to apply as a storekeeper because of my experience with Toys R Us, but I couldn't agree with the terms and it's something that I don't see long term. So I remember I gave a call to my sister after the interview at Toys R Us. I asked her for the number for Caliph Fitness in Orchard. Right? So I got a number. I called the number. I said I would like to have an opportunity. I told them openly I don't have a certification, but I have my experience. So you can come down today for an interview. I will interview you. That's when I got my one and only job from SA, right? And 6 years after training thousands of hours, training many people, and hit again that roadblock, if I may say. So like
after
what's
6 years?
next? Yeah, after 6 years.
6 years.
And came this company.
Do you have to get a certificate?
We are given like 3 months to be certified. So they have an in-house training
So they
certification.
certify you.
They certify you. It the advantages if you have your BEC, I think, basic exercise course. But I came in without any certification, and so interestingly, by the second month, because I do not have any background in sales, I only train myself. But of course, so again, typically me, I will do something which I'm very certain about. So I'm very certain about the exercises that I do, which I apply myself, which I know can be applied to my clients. Right? So by the second month, when I was still a junior trainer at one point of time, I wasn't training anyone yet. You are only allowed to train anyone after you're certified. So by the second month, I was actually, in fact, I was second top sales in Asia in my sales, and there are a couple of times that I was actually in, top few spots. Every quarter we have this.
How do you, when you mean by sales, like what does it like got to do with instructor and sales? Like you get clients, is it?
Yes. So we sell packages. I mean, personal trainers, predominantly in that space, we do sell packages, and we are like we call ourselves like a sales associate, right? I mean, you see a customer or a gym patron who's on the floor.
How do you approach and get a customer?
Like cold approach, right? Cold calls, right? Anyone working out on the floor and you see them not working out right, you approach them and try to correct them.
I see.
90% of the time you get FO, you know,
Yeah.
so they don't want to be bothered
Yeah,
because the moment they see us walking around, obviously in their minds, right, we're trying to sell a package to them. So it's true. No, I mean that's where we get the bulk of our income, right? But I think at the end of the day, like in anything that you do, it's all about your intent and your purpose, right? So it was tough, right? Really, it was really tough because in my batch of 10, only 2 stayed on after the first 3 months, right? And 2 of us, we stayed on until years, right? So we're good friends still till today. But both of us have parted. I mean, we are not in California Fitness anymore.
Yeah.
He's still in the gym, in a different gym, and myself, I'm doing something else now.
Okay. So when you have roadblock, right? After 6 years, just now you said?
After
6 years?
yes, about 6 years.
6 years. Why do you have that roadblock? Like, you are doing okay all the way. You had the best sales, right? Until 6 years, why?
So a couple of triggers. I think one of which was my wife gave birth to our first child. That was in about 2012, and during that period, it dawned upon me, right? I mean, because I work very long hours, and because I have without bragging, I have a lot of clients.
Okay.
So obviously, with the limited number of hours that you have in a day and the number of clients that you service, your hours do get very long.
Yeah.
I mean, I can start from 7 a.m. and finish my last client up to 11 p.m. And that can happen on a daily affair. And you can have probably 1 or 2 hours break, maximum. Sometimes even no break in between. So you literally hope and pray for your clients to come late. Sometimes they get 2 back to back, right? But after doing that for a couple of years, because I was at the top of my rank on the first year already, so I got promoted every quarter.
Nice.
So because I hit my sales target, I hit my hours target, right? So you do that times 5 years. I was looking for ways to be able to do more than that. I mean, to be able to motivate, to be able to train, or rather, maybe even educate, right? Not in terms of that, just in the personal training sense, but to be able to create, what would you call it? Impact lives in a different aspect, right? So not only that, again, I think the other factor is because, at the point of time, I thought, right? Potentially running your own business means you have more time, right? They say running your own business means you have control of time, but the opposite is true. In fact, I have lesser time now. But it's all good, right? It's all good. So and so I think in terms of the market, I saw a lot of people, even myself included, who started to purchase things online. I was a user of Hardware Zone. I was a user of eBay. I was buying on Yahoo auction. Kind of saw a trend, right? So, but that wasn't really the main trigger, right? The main trigger was really for me, on a personal note, to be able to challenge myself to do something else.
So 6 years of physical trainer, just like it hasn't more challenge. There's no more challenge for you, and you want more like giving back, impact, stuff like that.
In a way, because I was given a chance to promote, right, to manage like a club. But it's not something that it wasn't really my calling.
Yeah,
right? Because it's very much sales driven, once you are at that level. And I enjoy teaching, I enjoy training, I enjoy guiding, I enjoy interacting. But that means better income, right? That means potentially also means a bit more structured in terms of your hours, because you do lesser training per se, but more of managing the business of your gym. But that wasn't something that I want to do. So the roadblock to answer you really is because I think one factor, I think economics, right? I mean, I have to admit I was earning a decent income. Right? It was sufficient. No challenge, no stress, just yourself. But I think it's a problem. I think, right, with people like myself. Right? I mean, once it gets too comfortable, you tend to dislodge yourself, to be uncomfortable, right? Because I think being in status quo for too long is not good for your. Yeah, because you only live once, right?
Yes,
You want to try to do something else. You want to
Yes.
try to challenge yourself.
Yes.
Right?
So that's the whole.
It's the whole mindset. You know? So I think it all sparked from that
that.
moment when I started working out. But of course, there's always the element of economics, right, where you get motivated because you may have better income, you may have a better business, which means better wealth for yourself, for your family. But I have to admit that wasn't my main drive, my main goal. And it was a lot within my circle of my wife, my family, my kids.
Your wife is a housewife?
My wife was a teacher. At the point of time, she was still flying. I think she was a cabin crew with Singapore Airlines, and she quit once we got married, and she became a teacher.
Okay.
And again, I think circling around how you internalize at every juncture of your life and repurpose yourself with what matters most to you. Yeah, I never really given too much thought about it, but yeah, I think somewhat. When I share with you, really, it's a lot because of almost very situational.
Okay, so that triggers you, and from there, Riverwood came along. So what are the challenges you face? You know, like obviously there's risk involved, right? You know, from having a comfortable, stable, feel, and suddenly you want to jump to Riverwood, right? And stuff like that. Like, what's the challenges and how do you overcome it? The risk, especially with your wife. How do they talk about it and stuff?
I think being communicative with your close ones is very important, right? As you mentioned, my wife, my parents. I think the whole support system is really important. To know that you can, you can pick up a phone and just share. You don't need solutions. You don't really need solutions, so to speak, because sometimes you just want to, share and vent out even sometimes, right? I think with the support that I got from my family, right, was instrumental to for the beginning stage of the business, because there were so many uncertainties, right? I mean, you talk about typically, right, in the business, you talk about your revenues, you talk about the biggest challenge, of course, in terms of your cash flow. We are still very much labor intensive business. You talk about people. It's something which I think you just work around along the way. But I have to admit, right, I think the faith you have in yourself is important, and your own strength that you have in yourself, your own belief you have in yourself is important. Apart from your own faith, whichever religion or creed you believe in. I mean, myself, of course, being a Muslim, so we go back to the basics, right, of your prayers, right, of your purpose. And it makes a problem naturally be converted to a challenge. Again, it's the same thing, half empty, half filled. But when you see it as a problem, you see it as something negative. And you see it as a challenge, you see it as something positive, because it's something that you need to overcome. So I think it's a matter of time where you get acclimatized to that sort of environment. But I think it all really begins with the moment you wake up every day. I do have to admit, right, that my wife is a very strong figure in my life. You kind of realize, right, there's a saying, behind every, again, I'm not citing myself as being successful, but there's a saying, behind every successful man there's a woman behind him. I mean, she's always been there for me, right, my wife, and in fact, the other woman as well is my mother, right? And I think knowing this support is there, it really helps, especially in the beginning years, because statistics has shown, right, 9 out of 10 startups fail in the first year. Fail 9 out of 10. In fact, I think the number is how much is it? I can't remember the statistics, but less than certain percentage gets past the 5-year mark.
Yes, right.
right? How I got his number is because recently we won the Skills Future Employee of the Year award. And so I was looking at some statistics, like how many people actually participated. So apparently it's 200,000 SMEs in Singapore. So that figure was an eye opener for me. But yeah, I mean, if I digress, please let me know, right? So to the beginning years, again, like to your question, there were challenges that we face, right? Those are the basic challenges in any businesses, right? Be it in terms of the market, in terms of your finance, right? Be it in terms of your HR. But the thing is, never ever ever run away from your problems. No matter how big the problems are, face it head on. That's the best way to learn, right? It's something which you need to you have a conviction, right? The moment you face a problem, it becomes a habit. Don't run, don't cower, go for it. Right? Go and attack it head on. Be there. When you lead by example, you send a signal, almost like a culture to the rest of your team, that you don't run away from problems. No matter how big it is, right? Just face it head on. And oh boy, we've faced so many challenges really till today, and I share so much, right? Some parts of it almost we got financial challenges and cash flow challenges, staff challenges, vehicle challenges, you name it, right? We went through, and we still are going through.
Really, right now. Okay, what's the biggest failure in your life, and how has it helped you right now, and probably biggest or favorite failures that you
see? Biggest or favorite failure? Maybe it circles around. Thinking back, it's hard to term that as a failure, but I think really by dropping out of school, right? It was a very depressing period of my life. Right? I've got friends who are very close friends, who are very, very intelligent, very smart, and they were acing their exams. And when you reflect, right, you see, because you are being judged by your results, by the paper.
Yes, right.
At the point of time, I'd have to say that it wasn't really the best period of my life. We had some personal challenges within the family. So that was a really defining moment, if I may say, for myself, to identify your own strength, and to realign yourself with, as I shared earlier, on the faith, right? Because certain things just happen beyond you. So in the concept of Islam, right, there's a qada and qadar, where in Stoicism, right, the belief of things happen for a reason. So I remind myself a lot on that, because yes, certain things it's just beyond your control. So when you internalize such situation, it can be really at a point of time almost suicidal, if I may say, right? It's really that depressing. Family was in disarray, if I may say. You didn't really have much. You don't have an education, right? And then you are in a country where everything thrives on that paper, right? So I was so determined. I was so fired up to prove to the people around me, and of course eventually to yourself, that you can achieve your own success in whatever measures you have, despite all the challenges being against you. And what I did was, which I still do today, I read a lot, right? I read a lot of books. At a point of time, it was a lot of autobiography. My favorite person would be Richard Branson, which I'll share more later.
Oh, it's my favorite also.
Oh, really?
I just finished his book.
Right. So so I think you reflect upon these people's experience, right? And you get motivated, right? And then from motivated, you get inspired to do more. And I think that is when you look as a failure. So interestingly, right now I look as a failure as a privilege, right? As a privilege for you to be there, because that's the biggest, best moment that you can actually learn. And I think going into that situation, in that sort of mindset, you will internalize the situation and relook at what has happened and how not to let it repeat in the future, and it suddenly becomes a blueprint in your business or in your life. So maybe that could be that period where I dropped out of school, and then within that short 3-4 years,
but
it was hard.
Suicidal.
Yes,
Wow.
yes. It is, right? It is. I mean, there were a couple of other accounts which unfortunately I can't share because it's very personal. But yes, it is. I have to admit that time where you really had so much going against you, you feel that what's the point, right? But yeah, I think
What age was that?
That was that period, 14 to 16. That was that period.
And basically you're obese and
correct.
struggling with all of that. Speaking about you love reading, right? Share with us your books. Share with us more about what book would you recommend, and
So I can think of 2 books now, if I can share. Right? Number one would be I like to read on like psychology, right? So I have this book that I read very quickly. It's called The Birth Order book.
Okay.
So it's profiling of people based on their birth order. Very interesting way of profiling that was done over extensive years of research. So it's written by Dr. Kevin Leman. That's one. Maybe 3 books.
Sure.
Then the other one will be actually on Muhammad by Karen Armstrong. So it gives you a very objective perspective towards him. I mean, he's been awarded the #1 most influential person, right, within the century, or within time rather. I can't remember that title. I think you might have read that. But again, Karen Armstrong's perspective on it, it takes away the unseen or something which is uncertain. It's very factual, right? And so the beauty of it is, I think we've been so exposed with so much of the nicer side of his journey, but the real journey as a person, right, from young, right, the challenges that he faced when he was a trader, the challenges he faced when he got his revelation, all the way up to the end, and in a very objective way, even down to the Lailatul Qadar. It was a very objective perspective of how he internalized and how he brings out his strength. So I like that. I mean, I think it's applicable. The good thing why I like it is because it's applicable to anyone. It's the strength of a person. And the other one was the autobiography of Richard Branson. Which is the first one was Losing My Virginity. So that's a very I like that book a lot because there's a lot of examples in there.
I love how he loves to write letters. That's
exactly.
Really
Exactly.
Okay, when you think of the word successful, what comes to your mind and why?
Successful. I mean, I think successful. I think this goes across all. I think in terms of, it's just general, right? Generally for all. I think financial freedom. I mean, talking about the realism of life, financial freedom, where you don't have to worry about your bills, right? You don't have to worry about, your expenditures. You don't have to worry about your mortgage. So the beauty of it, I mean, there are certain parts of the business where when we are in a better situation, we have that sort of space. So, hence saying, like, why the rich gets richer, is because I think it's the whole environment of having, being in a position where you do not have any worries, right, of things like that, right, which we generally all of us worry about, right, how to make sure we have enough for the paycheck, all that stuff. So when you have that, your full brain cells, right, the whole left and right brain, to utilize, right, for your vision, for your direction of your company, it does a lot of wonders. So I think even if you don't own a company, for you to excel in your life, be it in work or be it you as a person, I think it gives you that sort of space and that bandwidth, because you don't have to worry, you don't have to have food for lunch, whether I have food for my, money for my mortgage next month. So you can really think about how to better the situation, how to improve technology, how to improve processes, how to improve and upgrade yourself. So that's one. That's in the aspect, general sense, right? Success. I think the other would be my benchmark, honestly, is when I am in a constant state of being calm, composed, and always in a very peaceful state of mind. Having said peaceful, it's not about just being kind, being soft. No, it's not about. It's always, being able to detach yourself from your situation and being able to do in a split second, objective, when we are all driven by emotions, right? Objective in your decision making, because you are calm, because you're always in the alpha mode. Because of that clarity in how you think, I think you're successful, or you will pave your way towards being successful. And that leads to the other point, which is for me to be able to sleep peacefully at night. Where before I go to sleep, I know that you've done your best for the day, that you didn't hurt anyone along the process, you've appreciated everyone that's along your way, and you know that it might just be your last night, and you can just knock off. Yeah, that's from my point of view.
Then who comes to your mind? Just a successful person.
Is it as an example?
Yeah, it's an example.
Successful person example for me. Probably in terms of business, right? Now, if you ask me now, I think, I've been following him for the past few months. Well, years actually, but more so the past few months. It's actually Elon Musk. Because I ascribe, or rather I relate myself to how he faces day-to-day challenges with what I'm going through now, with Tesla especially, and his ability to actually run the Boring company, run Tesla, SpaceX, and the other one is I think Astra, the school that he sends his
At Astra,
right? So it's interesting how you can compartmentalize your focus for different businesses within the same time that I have. So it's interesting, right? I mean, it's either you're so good with your time management, or you have a team of strong team behind you, right? So that's one part in terms of success off late, right? In terms of mindset, I think, right? With my experience working with some of my clients, I really look up to an individual, of course, which is Jeff Bezos, for Amazon. Not because of him being the richest man on earth with his current status. It's the leadership that he puts in and the traits that he puts in to the company. I mean, to me, it's really an intriguing, for me, an intriguing way of running a company of 500,000 people, to be able to push your culture through and your leadership traits through and your vision and mission through that number of people. I mean, we've got 100 plus people now, and it already can be a challenge, right, to push through your DNA across through and through all spectrums of the company. So to be able to do that, I would say successfully across continents, across ethnicity, across age group, it's really successful for me, right? And of course, the other, lastly, I mean that's for Jeff Bezos. The other two I would say, right, which is correlated. One is of course Prophet Muhammad with how he does, how he promotes business, how he promotes balance in life. And last would be my mother, right? I think my mother and the challenges that she went through, it's not, I don't think it's easy for growing up in such circumstances with her, but she'll always be my hero, you know. So so the successful people instead of successful person.
It's okay. All right. Just now you spoke about leadership, right? Can I just ask you, what makes a good leader? In your terms.
I think first and foremost you have to be altruistic, right? You have to train yourself to take away your self-interest out of your day-to-day equation. Because if you do that, then you will have the interest of the others around you, which makes the whole purpose of the business for what it is for. Because the business is not meant for just for you, right? So being altruistic is one. I think the other would be being, of course, I think being healthy. Healthy in the sense of watching your food intake, being responsible for your spiritual health, very important part of your day-to-day life, and physical health as well. So physical health, of course, in terms of your food intake, your dietary, your exercise, your sleeping habits. Again, back to where I shared earlier regarding having the alpha mind, you know, as much as you can in your day. Because when you have that, then you are able to push through your direction in clarity, being back to the basis of number one, which is yourself out of the picture for the good of all around you. So yeah, you've got the altruistic, and you got the health. Health, and more importantly, in terms of real skill set for a good leader, I think you have to always listen. Right? I mean, from listening alone, you can do a lot of wonders from there. So sometimes, as leader, sometimes you think that because you are leading, right, you have all the rights to push a certain agenda or direction, which is not untrue. But sometimes you forget to listen. And I think from listening, you're able to give more curated response to your audience. And it's something which I remind myself to always do whenever I speak. Right? I always remind myself in a setting of a boardroom or a meeting. Listen first, talk last. So absorb within that space.
Beautiful. Okay. Share with us what are your morning ritual? Like your first 60 minutes of the day.
So I'll start off my day typically 4-ish to 5 in the morning.
That's
every day. I'll wake up. I'll do my prayers, certain supplementary prayers such as Tahajjud. I'll do that in the morning. So I try to. I mean, my typical routine. Right? So I do like Tahajjud and then tasbih. Solat tasbih. Then I'll do some zikir or some recitation of the Quran. So interestingly, I like to read not just recitation, but recitation plus the translation. Then you internalize. Then you learn. Right. So otherwise, it becomes very just melodic. You know, you just it's almost like music. So the translation will allow you to internalize. And the best part is, right, because you do it so early in the morning, you have lesser traffic, you have lesser noises. My kids are still sleeping. You know, no one is awake at home. So you are able to just be in your own space and your own zone, which sometimes we human beings, especially in the current time and age, in the busyness of our day-to-day lives, we forget to feed ourselves that spirituality feeling that we need. So that's my morning typically, right? And then so I'll do my Fajr prayers, and I'll go for my run or for my walk. Depends on how I feel on the day. When I'm traveling, I'll try to go to the gym as well in the morning. I was working out at the gym near the office, but they shifted elsewhere.
The gym, is it?
There's a gym at 714 A Broad Reservoir, Fit Lion, I think. Lion. So, but they shifted. I give myself the same reason each time that they shifted, that's why I never go. But so I do some calisthenics, you know. So it's calisthenics. I mean, because back in the days of personal training, right? I mean, I work out sometimes twice or thrice a day. And I do split body part because I competed in the strongman competition.
Wow.
So I've always want to push myself. So in the morning, that morning reset, that morning takeoff rather, is really important to be geared physically, more importantly mentally, right, psychologically, to be ready for battle, right, for lack of a better word, and then typical routine again. I go to my car, and I'll do more zikir in the car. So I just have some basic zikir that I do. So I play it in my car, and yeah, that's my therapeutic moment. And I'll start off my day, and that's where I'll start off with that mentality to go.
I'm trying to do it every day.
I try to do it every day, correct?
Oh, beautiful.
So the other thing that, if I may share really again, without even feeling bragging or whatever,
sure.
right? So every Sunday, I will do my Qiyamul Lail, and I like to promote this Qiyamul Lail because I enjoy fetching people. So I have maybe like yourself or whoever, right, who wants to join in. I'll fetch you at 3 in the morning.
Really?
And so I live in Punggol, so I'll fetch you wherever. Then I'll pick you up along the way. Then we'll go to the mosque at Choa Chu Kang. So Masjid Firdaus, you know.
Why Choa Chu Kang? Why that
So
mosque?
okay, so the ustad that I do my prayers with, he is the mosque imam. What would you call it? Imam executive for Choa Chu Kang Masjid Firdaus. So hence he has the keys to the mosque, right? So because otherwise at 4 in the morning, I think they are locked for most mosques.
Is it near the
HTA?
home team? Yeah.
Precisely,
Is it?
that's the one.
Right, yeah, it's there. Okay.
And I think it's situated perfectly. I mean, it's
very,
quiet, serene, very tranquil.
Ambience there is amazing.
Good ambience, yeah. And at 4 in the morning, 4-ish, right, you do a praise. It's just you and God. And you're able to have that khusyuk and then reflect, you know. So I try to do that every Sunday. The only reason why I don't is maybe if I'm extremely tired, I'm unwell, or I'm traveling. Otherwise, for the past few years, it's been my routine. So that's what I do on Sundays, and my family has worked around it. Because by the time I come home, I'll be at 8 plus or something. So it's just nice, right? It's nice. As long as I have enough sleep, the kids are up, bring them out, and yeah, it's a good start for Sunday, and it really resets my week. So when I enter Monday, come what may, you know, we are ready.
Yeah. Wow. Beautiful. All right. What are your goals 5-10 years down the road?
I think the industry itself is set for growth. I mean, with the growth of e-commerce, I mean, it has caught logistics almost off guard in terms of the infrastructure, in terms of the skill set. But the beauty of technology, I mean, it allows you to breach that gap.
Yeah.
So what I'm trying to establish is, obviously, we would like to prepare ourselves also, you know, in terms of our resources, in terms of our skill set, in terms of our infrastructure, to be ready to grow and scale with the market. And I think consumer behavior has changed so much, right? Where everything is done via, you know, the online space.
And our attention span is lesser and lesser.
It's lesser and lesser, exactly. And I think we also pride in positioning ourselves not as a last mile player or a logistics provider only per se. So we are a solutions provider in terms of the technological space and also in terms of the logistics space. So I think in 5 years' time, I mean, I would like to see the company not just be in Singapore, within the region, right? With Singapore as of course a strong base, and within the region where I think naturally within the space of Malaysia and Indonesia, partly because of the focus that we are giving towards the industry now, which is towards the halal logistics. So I think that beckons almost a natural course to be able to scale within that geography. Well, 10 years. Well, I think maybe for our potential future investors, I mean, we don't have any investors at the moment, maybe to have a plan for an IPO, right? For us to even have public money to even grow this business further. So yeah, that would be the near-term 5, 10 years.
How about personally? Your personal goals.
Personal goals,
Not about Riverwood, just yourself. You know,
Yourself,
10 years, 20 years.
I like to be able to find ways to give back. I mean, I'm a counselor with detention barracks, so we teach life skills. We teach, we give talks, you know, and in fact tomorrow I'm giving a talk. There's an event that they invited me, so I do talk at least once a month. I would like to be able to. I mean, I use this as my own benchmark, right? Sometimes when we do have invitations for a talk, because the schedule can be quite crazy, right? Sometimes I convince myself, I ask myself, why would I want to? Because generally, I mean, I don't ask for any payment, and in fact, I don't want to ask for any payment, because I think the exposure that we get is more than what the money is for, and I don't like to put a price tag. I mean, a juncture to my time, unless depends, right? I mean, right now I still make my own decisions, but what I'm trying to say is, in my mind, how I function is that if I can share my experience of life to an audience. So I gave talks at a conference, I gave talk at schools, to universities even. For me, if I can just have one of them in the whole audience to be motivated, to be inspired, even better still, to have a shift of the way they think, right? I'm already successful, because how I see it is not just in him or her, but that change, it resonates across whoever that's around him or her, right? I mean, if you're married, then your spouse. If you have kids, then your kids, and the generations after.
True.
So, if I can do more of that, right, be it face to face or be it electronically, whichever. Because I think a lot of times I feel that we lack. I feel, right. I mean, this current age and time, we lack that sort of wisdom. Sometimes wisdom of sharing. I'm not saying I'm wise, right? I do know when I hit a certain roadblock in my life. I do know that that it's not easy, and how can we deconstruct this problem, right? Put it in a thought process, and we can share, so that anyone who goes through that, at least number one, can think, oh, actually, it's not something new. Someone has went through it before, and there are solutions to every problem that we face. So. Yeah, if you can have more of that sort of propulsion of ways to share, maybe by giving a talk or being writing a book. I think that'd be nice.
I think writing a book would be nice.
I think that'd be great.
I'd like to ask for two advice. Firstly, advice on how how people who are at a stage where you're in a California fitness, where they are just working every day, and probably don't have like how do people at that stage where you were, what advice would you give to them to find their calling?
Okay.
So because probably I think majority of the people out there who are just who have jobs, right, who just every day just wake up and go to work and come back, right? And then they don't feel satisfied with their job, They don't know, they don't enjoy, they don't feel fulfilled, right? So how do you advise these people to have to go find their calling and steps to take to get to their calling?
Okay.
That's one. And the other advice would be your own general advice.
I see.
Or probably the best advice you ever received.
I see. I think generally for people, I think it's think where you really look at every day as a blessing, right? Why I say that a little bit off tangent is because you need to constantly find your purpose in your life. So I always share these 5 P's that I give in my talk. I mean, first, in whatever that you do, you need to find your purpose in life. Some do it for their parents, some do it for their kids, some do it because they want to have a nice car, whatever your purpose is. And try to find one which is not because entirely for you, because we get satisfied quite easily. There must be a bigger purpose to this. I also think it's also a thought process which comes from maybe experiential as well. So I just share how I function. Right? And when you find your purpose, then you look at what you can excel in and enjoy doing at the same time, right? So that point on finding your purpose, because what you need to find, something which you enjoy doing. It's hard to say you enjoy work. I know it's again an oxymoron. It's hard to say that, but I mean now, if I were to say myself, what's my purpose, right? Apart from running the business, right? I think my purpose is to be able to create individuals who will be successful in their own space, be it with the company or not, right? Be it whether they stay with the company or not, right? Be able to give a space where they can fail, they can make mistakes, and get corrected, of course, right? And move on.
Yeah.
But don't get killed because they make a mistake, right? So I think it's a whole conditioning of the environment. That's for me. So, and also because I think you have to find a joy in working with people. So finding purpose and finding your passion, right, and whatever that you enjoy doing, as I shared, will allow you to build performance, right, or create performance, or perform rather in whatever that you do. And when you're able to perform, you're able to be, well, the other P that I like to share is about being productive in your day to day. I mean, being productive, you can do more, right? You can share more, right? And with that, you are able to do the last P, which is to build partnerships with people, right? Be it your stakeholders, be it your clients, right? Your family. So I think generally for general public, really, you need to find your purpose day to day, and acknowledge that change is always hard.
Yeah.
Right? I think you need to acknowledge your current situation, and really, if you are happy with where you are at right now. Sometimes, so interestingly for me, I think sometimes if only we can create, right, a situation for epiphany, right? Because that's when you realize that, yeah, I need to find my purpose, right? So in my journey of being a Muslim, I realized each time that I dua, I pray, I realized with that, when you strongly seek guidance, this is my own experience, yeah. I think it all comes through, I mean, you don't ask solutions for cash flow and suddenly open up a bank account and you got $1 million there. But it comes to you in the form of experience, because that's where money can't buy. And really that experience builds you, and it builds your character, right? And that is where the money really is, if you work hard for it, of course. So I think knowing your position, acknowledging your situation, answering to your calling at the point of time, and internalizing, and always constantly self-reflect will move you to where you should, right? Again, all this while ensuring that you do it with the best approach in terms of integrity, in terms of principle, and just do it. No, don't think too much. No, do first, talk later. That's always my mentality, right? There's a saying, right? Paralysis analysis. Sometimes you think too much, you don't move out. You realize you're already 60. Even if you fail, so it's okay. I mean, of course, having said that, you need to have a safety net, right? One point on that. And when I did step out, I still had my job, right? I didn't exit fully.
Okay.
It was through time when I realized, okay, economically it makes sense. I'm able to sustain, and then I stepped out. But on that note, still, the first year was a challenge. No salary. I went home without lights on. My kids don't even have electricity because we couldn't pay our bills.
Really?
Yeah. And there are things like, going to jail for no reason. Because of course, at one point of time you're new, you don't have any administrative staff. Summons come to you, you can't remember who's driving it, and you realize it comes to you over a period of reminders, and you get a warrant arrest. You get so busy doing deliveries into your business, and the police just come knocking at your door. So I think just do it and think later. That's the mentality and the motto of something.
Okay, any last parting words?
So, okay, I always share this. I always share in my speech, right? There's three purpose. three purpose of my life that I can identify, right? That drives me. Number one, my wife and my kids, right? And then that gets extended to my parents too, right? I mean, they are my purpose in my life, right? To be able to give them a better life, right? To be able to give them something which I didn't have the privilege to with my effort, right? Especially for my kids, right? To not have to go through what I went through. Hence, I use that word suicidal, not an easy situation to go through, and for me to be able to share the wisdom and the experience of what I went through and go through the whole learning journey and the thought process without the depression portion, right? So yeah, that's the way to that. Okay. So my purpose, that's one, number one. Number two, my staff, my team, to be able to be a leader who can give them a space and a room and a platform to excel, to be able to guide them and to be able to motivate them, to be able to move them to be better than who they are, and to achieve the best in whichever job that they are in. And ultimately, number three, is so I live my day to day like as if it's my last day on earth. I step out of the house with a mindset that I probably might not come back. So when you have that mentality, you step out of the house, more often than not, you leave your baggages out of you. You even though something might be angry at home, just give your best because of that faith. So because tomorrow might never come, and I think that will push you to your max, to your limits in terms of your work professionally, and in terms of your religious, spiritually as well. So you try to be the best in whatever that you do with every second that takes and every moment that you have, and to always be to position yourself to be again an exuberance for positivity, to motivate and to be able to share this spirit, if I may say. So yeah, that's pretty much something that I
Nice, thank
how I
you.
function. Yeah.
All right, thank you so much. Thank
Yeah.
you so much, Mr. Shafiq.
Sure. Thank you. You're welcome. You're most welcome.